Dr. Y. Sarada, Professor, Department of Mathematics, Anna University. Her area of specialization is applied probability and stochastic modeling. She has about 25 research publications in national and international journals. She has guided students for research projects. She has delivered lectures in her area of specialization in many institutions.
Welcome to the lecture series on queuing and reliability. As a small recap, in the last lecture, we saw some basic elements of a queuing system. We also saw a queuing system consists of a servicing facility in which customers arrive from a source and after getting their service done, they exit the system. And the service facility may have a single server, or it may depend on the number of servers who is performing the service. The main factors which affect a queuing model are the arrival distributions, the service time distributions, servicing facility design, queue size and the calling source. The other factors which may influence the queuing system are the arrival pattern of customers, which may be a single arrival or arrivals happening in batches, that is bulk arrivals, and then we may have service pattern of the servers, namely first come first serve, or it could be last in first out, or it could be servicing in random order, or it could be priority and so on. The next factor is queuing discipline or the service discipline, and then the system capacity. System capacity again can be finite or infinite. Whenever there is a finite capacity, it is possible that the customers arrive at the system and looking at that the system is complete, full, so they may have to leave the system. So, for example, in theaters you have that once the tickets are full, I mean sold out, they put the board as house full. So, that is one example for finite capacity system, or the system can be infinite otherwise. The next ingredient is the number of service channels. This again depends on whether it is a single server model or a multi server model. So, for example, in a hospital, say diabetes clinic, in many centers we have. So, there a patient enters the system and confirming the appointment at the reception desk, and then maybe the patient has to go through the nutrition and dietitian section, and they are questioned about their food habits that was there in the last few months or weeks from the last appointment, and then they will be questioned about the other any health issues which they would have suffered in the last duration and so on. Their weight may be checked and they will be decided or told about what are the kind of tests they have to undergo at that instant of time. So, then based on this, the customer or the patient has to go through various sections, like maybe the payment section is the next one, and after that the patient has to go through the blood tests and see different doctors, or maybe the X-ray test and other tests based on the suggestions given by the nutrition and the dietitian section. So, after this, after all the tests are over, the patient may have to wait for the consultation with the doctor, prior to which the waiting time is incurred because of waiting for the reports for the test that the patient has undergone that day, and then waiting to see the doctor, completion of the test or consultation with the doctor, and then maybe if possible have to purchase some medicine that is available in the hospital itself, and then exit the system. So, in this way maybe there is a if there is a provision at the hospital for the foot clinic, maybe buying the slippers, all this I am talking in the context of a diabetic patient. So, the time from the entry into the system, starting from checking with the or confirmation of the appointment that day, and then exiting the system after consulting with the doctor and then exiting the system. So, all this depends on the number of service counters and then the waiting time or the time spent for service, and because every counter there would be a waiting time depending on the number of patients who are waiting at the corresponding desk already or the counter. So, in this way the number of service channels can be one or more. So, that is an example for the number of service channels being more than one. Next aspect is the number of service stages. So, this also again it depends on mathematically we put it as a single server model or a multi servicing stage. So, the distributions which play a role here are the exponential distribution and then the Erlangian distribution. We all know that the Erlangian distribution is consisting of two parameters. One is the number of stages that a customer has to go through or the number of phases it is used, and the other one is what is the parameter of the service time distribution there for each service. So, if it is the exponential, then the parameter commonly used is lambda. So, the notation used is E suffix k. So, this is an example where the number of service stages could be more. So, these are the basic ingredients we have of a characteristics of a queuing model. The next one we saw is the effectiveness of a queuing system. Here we need to discuss about some measure of the waiting time of the customer in the queue or in the service with the server in the service time. So, in this case we have there could be an indication where the manner in which the customers may accumulate while a person or a customer or a patient is getting the service done. So, what is a measure that gives us an idea about the manner in which the customers may accumulate? So, this is one important ingredient which is to be looked into. The other aspect which is to be taken care of is a measure of the service time or the measure of the idle time of the server. So, we look at this in two ways. One is the idle time of the server, the other one is the time spent by a customer with the server. So, the busy time would be the time spent by a customer with the server of the server, and the other one is whenever there is no queue at all, there is no customer in the system, the servers are idle. So, these are the various ingredients that one has to take into account while discussing the performance measures involved in a queuing system. So, in all this finally what we are into is the following, namely the steady state probabilities or the equilibrium probabilities once the system reaches a steady state. In all these models, the fundamental models are Markovian queuing models. As we already saw in the last episode, we said the Markovian models comprise of modeling of the arrival process or the departure process as a Poisson process. So, once we have this number distribution, namely probability of n customers present in the system in an interval of length t units of time, that is denoted by PNT or probability that n of t equal to n. So, this as time prolongs, namely in the long run, that is mathematically putting it as t tending to infinity of PNT. That is the measure we see. So, in the long run, this probability of finding n customers in the system in an interval of length t, that is PNT, becomes a constant, namely Pn notation, and this is the measure which one would be interested in the steady state. So, in all this Markovian queuing models, we have the fundamental assumption of the counting process, namely the process which represents the number of customers in the system at any time t or in an interval of length t. So, here the counting process associated is Poisson, whereas the interarrival times follow an exponential distribution. Before getting on to the basics of the random processes, we will just look into this exponential distribution, which is very important in the queuing, particularly Markovian queuing models. So, the exponential distribution, it is suppose we are into a continuous random variable x, so which is said to follow an exponential distribution if its probability density function is given by f of x, which is denoted by lambda e power minus lambda x, where x is greater than or equal to 0 and lambda is greater than 0. That is, the intensity parameter lambda is always positive, whereas because we deal with modeling here is random variable x denotes the time between two consecutive events. So, because it is a measure of the length of time, we always have the value of x to be non-negative, either positive or equal to 0. So, the distribution function of this exponential random variable is given by 1 minus e power minus lambda x. And why this exponential random variable is used in queuing models, particularly Markovian queuing models. The important feature of the exponential random variable is the memoryless property of the exponential distribution. Namely, if a random variable x is exponentially distributed, then the conditional probability of x greater than s plus t, under the knowledge that x is greater than s, is given by probability of x greater than t for any s comma t greater than 0, because again these give the description of the random variable is time between say two consecutive events. So, here how this is possible? Suppose for example, we are thinking of this random variable x as the lifetime of an equipment, then what is said here in this lack of memory property is under the knowledge that condition that x is greater than s, that means the random variable x is greater than s units of time. In the context of this machine equipment, we are saying that suppose the equipment has already survived s units of time, that is, it is already of age s, then the conditional probability that in future, namely x survives for t more units of time. So, this conditional probability is equivalent to saying that the equipment survives t units of time. So, like the equipment forgets that it has been in use for already s units of time, and the probability that it will survive another t units of time is the same as a new system surviving t units of time. So, this is the beautiful property of the exponential random variable, where the equipment, I mean this is probabilistically putting it, the system forgets that it has been in use for certain units of time. One example maybe I had told already in the last episode. So, I would like to recollect because it is at this context, namely while talking about the exponential random variable, there is living example, namely in California there is an electric bulb which was installed more than 200 years ago, which is still in use, it has not failed. So, that is why the lifetime of an electric bulb in particular is also modeled, or it is a excellent example for representing a exponential distribution. So, in this way an exponential random variable has the marvelous feature of representing that a system forgets that it has been in use for a certain amount of time. So, which is what we refer to as a lack of memory property. So, maybe at this stage we can just take a short break. Welcome back after the break. So, that was about the exponential random variable we saw earlier. Now, another feature which is important in the study of Markovian queuing models is about Poisson process. But before that, we need to look into what a random process is. So, let us look into a random process. Initially, we were getting familiarized about a random variable. So, a random variable is a mapping from the set of all outcomes of a sample space to the real line. Now, a random process as an extension of the random variable, we can see that to every outcome of the sample space, a function which is dependent on time is associated. So, in this way we have a collection of random variables. So, which is nothing but we refer to it as a random process. So, in general a random process is a collection of random variables. Here it is denoted as x of s comma t, where s is associated with the sample outcome and t is the time parameter. So, a function f of t is always associated with an outcome of the sample space small s. So, in this case we have a collection of random variables associated with the experiment under consideration. So, which we refer to as a random process. So, here the set of all possible values of any individual member of the random process is called the state space, and any individual member itself is called a sample function or the realization of a process. So, in this way we classify further the random process based on the state as well as the parameter. In the context of what we are going to see, let us suppose we have t to be the parameter which we represent always by time, and s is the state, so the number and so on. So, here before going on to the Poisson process, what is the classification that is possible for a random process? So, it is based on the state and the parameter. Here the state can be discrete or continuous, while the parameter also can be discrete or continuous. So, in this way we have 4 types of classifications that are possible based on the state and the parameter. For example, suppose we are dealing with the state and the parameter to be both discrete. One possible example would be the consumer preferences that are taken on a monthly basis. Suppose a person has to or desires to introduce a new product into the market, maybe it is a toothpaste or it is a television or any item. What they have to do prior to their introduction is they have to do a survey in the society with the public and take which brand is more saleable and so on. So, in this way we try to get a data about the consumer preferences on a monthly basis. So, another possibility is both the time and the state parameters can be continuous. So, in this case we can think of an example where we discuss the content of a dam observed over a period of time. So, another possible example for the time to be discrete and the state to be continuous is the waiting time of an nth student waiting at the bus stop at an instant of time. Similarly, we can think of the time being continuous and the state being discrete with the following example, namely the number of students waiting at a bus stop on any time of a day. So, these are the few examples where we can think of real life examples. So, next we will see and once again few authors discuss the classification of a random process based on the state and parameter which we saw now. Another classification is the specific types of processes, namely based on the increments, that is the time between events, successive events. So, if the number of events happening in non-overlapping intervals over time, then the process is said to be a random process with independent increments. And another classification is based on the time and the probability distribution of the underlying process, namely if the distribution of the number of events that are occurring in the non-overlapping intervals of time, they are dependent, the distribution is dependent only on the length of the interval, not on the instance of time, then we call the underlying stochastic process to be a stationary process. So, well, we have different types of stationarity coming up there, but then let us look into what we want in the queuing theory aspect. So, the fundamental classification here which we will be seeing is the Poisson process. We have here the Poisson process. It is basically a counting process, namely denoted by n of t, t greater than or equal to 0. Again we are talking about the counting process. So, we count the number of events say happening in an interval of length time t greater than or equal to 0. So, here the length of the interval which matters. So, t is always supposed to denote the length of the interval. So, nt t greater than or equal to 0 given within the brackets specifies the random process or a counting process. Here the counting process has the following assumption, namely at time t equal to 0, namely initially there is no event in the system. So, we denote it by n of 0 equal to 0. The other aspect is as time progresses, the events are happening at random instance of time. So, as and when an event happens, the count increases by 1. So, it is a discrete random variable at any specific instant of time. As you discuss this number of events happening over a length of time, you get various random variables. So, that is why this counting process is again collection of random variables which represent the count at any instant of time. So, they become a random variable over a period of time. You are into getting a collection of random variables. So, overall over a period of time you get a random process which we call it as a counting process. Counting process representing the number of events happening over a period of time. So, if it is the length of the interval is t, then we call the length of interval t units of time. So, fundamentally to talk about the Poisson process, we need a counting process which is represented by n of t. Further, we have some 3 postulates coming up which are very important, which constitute a Poisson process. So, the fundamental or the first one is the independence postulate. So, which is given as below, namely n of t is independent of the number of occurrences of an event E in an interval prior to the length of the interval 0t, that is the future changes in n of t are independent of the past changes. This is the assumption I had told you earlier as independent increments. So, independent increments is events happening in non-overlapping intervals are independent of each other. So, the event happening say in an interval of length 1 hour, say maybe at between 2 and 3 p.m. in the afternoon, is definitely independent of what has happened before, prior to say in the morning between 8 and 9 a.m. So, the 1 hour slice we are considering say morning and evening. So, the events happening in the morning between 8 am and 9 am, definitely they will not be influenced by what is going to happen in the future, right, between say 2 and 3 pm. So, in this way the future changes are independent of the past changes. Same way the changes which could happen, changes here I mean the events which would happen at this instant of time are not going to be influenced what are going to happen in the future. So, in this way we are into talking about the independent increments. So, postulate 1 is about the independent increments which we said about the type of a random process. So, next we have postulate 2 which discusses about homogeneity in time. So, this again the notation I have given here is P and T, which is probability that n t equal to n depends only on the length of the interval t and is independent of where this interval is situated. That is, P and T gives the probability of the number of occurrences in the interval say t comma t plus t1. This is true for every t1. So, this is what I spoke to you about the classification of the process stationarity. So, the 1 hour slice say is the same, the example I just gave a few minutes earlier. So, where that 1 hour slice is situated is independent. What we are discussing here is about the probability distribution of the number of events happening in an interval of length t. So, this t1 comma t plus t1. So, here the length of the interval is only t. So, where it happens it does not matter. The 1 hour slice I gave in the example is equivalent to the t or the length of the interval always remains t. You are into discussing or obtaining the number distribution of a random variable which has the length of the interval to be t units of time. So, that is what is nothing the stationarity we discuss. So, postulate 1 discusses about independence, while postulate 2 talks about stationarity, which we say it is the time homogeneity. So, the third postulate is nothing but the regularity of the underlying process. So, in this we consider a small interval of length h, which we refer to mathematically as infinitesimal length, which is nothing but the probability of exactly one occurrence in an interval of length say h units of time is given by lambda into h plus order of h. Here we see that the probability is always proportional to the length of the interval. So, the rate here is lambda, rate at which the events happen, and when it is multiplied with the length of the interval which is h units of time, here we are into getting the probability. So, probability of one event happening in an interval of length h is lambda h plus order of h. What is this O of h? That is what we call it as the process to be orderly, or that is events that are more than 2. Namely, the number of events that are happening in the interval of length h is 2 or more. All those probabilities are being absorbed into one quantity, which is nothing but little o of h, which is being given here. So, we have this orderly process that is and one more aspect here, as the h is elongated, namely the h tends to, mathematically putting it as it is contracted, h tends to 0 when you consider the relative efficiency of O of h to h, which goes to 0 faster. So, we consider limit h tending to 0 of O of h to h to be going to 0. So, this is one major feature for a process which is orderly. So, that is what we have the orderly or the regularity postulate for a Poisson process. What we have here is, under these postulates 1, 2 and 3, we have the counting process n t, t greater than or equal to 0 to be represented by a Poisson distribution with mean lambda t, that is given by the Poisson law P and t equal to e power minus lambda t power n by n factorial, where n can be 0, 1, 2 and so on. So, with this maybe we will conclude today's episode. We will in the next lecture we are going to see the generalized Poisson queuing model, which calls upon having an idea about a Poisson process. Okay. To test whether you have understood whatever has been told in this lecture, let us see the following 3 questions. First one, can you think of the probability of finding no event in the system? Number 2, can you conclude that arrivals at a station, railway station in particularly, are they independent? Number 3, how can you model the arrivals at a theatre? Can you model them as a counting process? Think of that. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.